I'm not gonna sugarcoat today's video. I realize that there's a lot that I need to be considering on a daily basis when it comes to doing these things. So let's just see a refined approach for making content or making these YouTube videos because I'm really just making them for me. And I'm hoping I can build a community out of them. And why I say community is because I really believe like people need to understand truly how they're getting involved in something. And normally, what we do is get the sales pitch at the end of it. So let's just say this would actually be as a whole, whatever I want from this series is a couple of people that know me better, so that when the time comes and I'm actually like entering the world and trying to like build my platform, I'll have I don't want to say support from from terms of like investment or any of that crap. I'll have people that understand what I'm trying to do, and even if they don't want to do it, they'll be able to explain maybe, or just they'll be able to allow it to happen. Because the way I see it, most of the world kind of right now operates on whether you get rejected heavily or not. If you don't get rejected heavily, then eventually like enough people will grab onto it. And I feel that approach works if I want to bombard people with shit. But anyways, so let's go do a bit of a recap. I did move to a new house 2 months ago. It was a beautiful old school house, but the electricity in it sucks and the water in it sucks. So naturally, I am paying for electricity, but we don't get good lighting. And we are in Lebanon. I think we're close to getting into a war. I don't know how I don't know how that information might actually translate in the future because like there are no more embassies in Lebanon. But anyways, I only can record videos in private places. I can't do it in public places. I can't do it in coffee shops, specifically these videos. And specifically because I don't have like proper lighting, proper electricity at the house, and all that stuff. I haven't been doing it. And my parents' house, which is in Beirut, doesn't have electricity as well. So I have to go all the way to the mountains to get some peace. And I tend to be very that means every 6 days I get to record a bit, five, six, seven, eight videos, and that pushes kind of me to the limits of whatever is on my mind, which is a good thing at some times, but like there is no consistency in it. So I feel like every single time I need to like build up my momentum towards yes, I'm going to start recording. Even though throughout my day I take these notes and I actually mark them on the side. But what I do is I mark the notes that happened that I go like, huh, that's interesting, that's interesting, that's interesting. Anyway, I was wondering how I would be able to be more consistent, and I basically looked at where I work and how I could actually do it, but they charge like $15 per hour for like a meeting room. So I was wondering if it's a valid thing to have it as a budget, or should I just wait till everyone leaves at night and just record it in the public area? There's a lot that I have to test when it comes to this, but like the effort is real. So was supposed to start recording yesterday, and I went up to, and I decided to like cancel it out yesterday night at 11 after my dad sleeps, and I canceled it out because I figured, well, let's just watch some TV and I'll wake up in the morning to do it. So I woke up, did my run, came here, and guess what? The behavior that leads to the daily consistent behavior that would have led to a proper uh, environment for uploading videos where my thoughts are there, where my concentration is there, where my everything that I might need for the process of like talking to myself throughout this video have been disturbed because there's no consistency in them. So what happens is I literally take the small book that I write down what I would want to make a video of with me, and I have three bags that I go through: one for my laptop, one for the books, and one for the gym. And that book literally is like a little whore that goes from one bag to another, one bag to another. I don't have the book with me, so I literally like I sat down, I prepared everything, I took a shower, I did my morning walk, and I came here and I'm like, fuck yeah, the book is in Beirut in the other bag. Normally, I come to the mountains with both my dogs, but this time I was like, no, because it's just a lot, man. I don't have a car. Like, I should have to carry a lot coming up in the bus or like waiting for somebody to go up so I can go with them or go down. It's just not the best of like traveling ideas. Especially now it's raining, so I'm gonna be hanging out in a small bus with people that are raining all over the place. Granted, I get to see my dad a bit. Like, that guy already has his own world, but he's enjoying me around more because mom isn't around, and I'm enjoying him more because probably the same. Like, just we get to talk me and him. But so maybe this video would be of a recap of what happened me and him the past couple of days and what we talked about. Maybe I can tell you a small story. When I was 21, I when I was 20, I got kicked out of university. They sent me a paper and they were like, "Hey, Tari, fucking suck. You need to fuck off." That's literally how I felt when they sent me the paper. Granted, it's deserving because I was literally not compliant to rules, regulations, or any of that shit. But so, anyways, after a couple of dean's warnings and dean's reprimands, they decided, you know what, man, you're too much trouble to handle, and your grades aren't that good. Of course, my grades aren't that good. So they're like, you have to take a year out and maybe reapply to the university. That's perfectly fine. But so I went to my dad and was like, hey man, and he's like, what are you talking about, man? I'm not paying for shit anymore. I'm like, what? After 3 years of spending all your money in the best university in Lebanon, the most expensive. Granted, the education they give is of higher level, but other universities give that too. They just like they're different programs. I don't know, man. It's like when I switched universities, I realized that some universities are just giving the programs differently, and some universities just give you the whole thing, and you can have to deal with it yourself. So, no judgment there. To each his fucking own. If I choose to market myself differently, then people will choose me, and most of the time, people don't do proper research. So, if you catch my attention, I'm gonna go for it. Anyways, so at that point, I had like a thought in mind where I was like, and what would I want as I grow up? And I wrote them down. I remember I was like, what I wanted when I grow up was to get my dad the sale was to have was to smoke a cigar and eat the best of caviars with my dad. That's his dream, not mine. And in order for that to happen, I need to be basically on top of my shit, stuff like that, and get him a sailboat. He also dreamt of Spain and buying an apartment in Spain. So I was like, why the fuck not? Might as well, while I was dreaming, I'll buy a building in Spain and then he can basically handle it and manage. I was 21, right? And then it's just a lot of family time that's been happening. And then and the third thing was for me to kind of to build a company that influences the system. Well, this is funny because any company that you build to influence a system needs to kind of have its own system. So it's either plugging into a new system or allowing the system to plug into it, or an old system. It's just there's a certain kind of like change that has to happen. It's not like I'm opening a shop or an e-commerce store that I'm plugging into something, right? So I was very specific. Introducing a new system changes the system, alters the system. I just didn't think what was happening in the world right now back then made sense. Which is fun because I still don't. But forget the last part because that's the last part, which is what I chose to be the thing that I work towards. The first two parts had nothing to do with me, and so me hanging out with my father the past month, and we talked about past, future, time, concepts, love, the books that we have written, companionship, relationship, how people get married, the purpose of human nature, and I don't believe humans have any purpose. I think life is meaningless. We give it meaning, or we don't, or we take it away. And I really think like our purpose is not really reproduction the way he thinks. He thinks his purpose is to like reproduce, and then after that he doesn't know what to do. And my response to him was like, your body's purpose is to kind of reproduce. Yours isn't. So like, just trying to keep like a distance between these two. got to a point where I started thinking, I was like, this is the only dude that I actually talk to that I like. And he actually truly listens to me. And at one point in my life, like 3, 4 years ago, the only people who listened to me were the people who wanted something out of me and were finding a way to take advantage of that. And so it got me a bit anxious. It's funny because the minute I got that way, I started thinking of all the times that I felt like was listening with a different intention, or I felt that I could have been interpreted in a different way because of that intention, because of me listening. And I started, I wrote back about it 3, 4, 5 months, and especially to the new spots, right? Because where I'm working right now, I've been there since like April. So that is what makes sense to me right now. Everything before that has been processed by me because, like, I think, okay, so like I talk to these people this way, I did this way, I try to approach the business this way. Because it's a new environment, I have to approach it with a completely new, refreshed mindset, or else I'll just be repeating what I'm doing. Is that correct? So the idea was for me to kind of like go back a bit and then see if maybe instead of me changing environments for me to make these realizations, I'm actually doing these processes, I can do them on the spot. And as I was doing that, I was like, how am I confident and what drives me? And I went back to him because what drives me is him. But it's not the same as I want to do something for him. And it came up with me in a very beautiful way. And I basically, like, I remember I was driving and I was going somewhere and I was like, I need to go back home and talk to him about it. So I went back home and I was like, stop, I want you to listen to me. And I explained to him this part. The only reason I'm driven the way I am right now and I feel confident is not because of your support to me, it's because of my respect to him that makes me not want to fail because I'm the one who's telling him about what I'm doing and he's the one who's believing in me. So ultimately, that accumulates like 20 years of a misunderstanding between me and myself because the reason why I always wanted to do stuff, especially with him included, is just because if I say something, he would always ask me about it and I would always like dig deeper into it to be able to answer him. And eventually I would literally be like, I would be putting the responsibility on him for it to be done. Well, the reality is the responsibility is on me, and because he believed in me, or because I respect him enough, so like I would not want to fail in something I said I would do, especially since I managed to convince him that it can be done. All right, cool. Recording.